One thing's for sure in the world of business, you can't get by without customers. If you want your business to grow and you want to be successful, you got to have customers. And if you want to have customers, that means somebody has to buy something from you. So you got to be involved in the selling process at some point in time in your business, unless people just come in and throw money at you for no reason or as a result of your marketing and advertising. But you're going to have to sell. So the downside of that is that nobody really wants to be sold. They sometimes feel that they go through a demeaning process or are threatened or pushed or coerced in some way. So nobody really likes to be sold, but everybody likes to buy. And when people buy, they buy according to their own rules. They buy according to what's valuable to them, what's most important to them. So if you're in the process of trying to convince someone to buy whatever product or services it is you sell, you want to reposition yourself from being a salesperson to somebody that just helps people make good buying decisions. And the way to do that is to ask some very non-threatening questions. Now, when people make buying decisions, four things are going to have to be satisfied. First of all, they're going to have to decide that you're trustworthy, that you're worth doing business with. Secondly, they're going to have to decide whether or not your business or the business you represent is going to take care of them. They're going to stand behind their product. They're not going to be hard to deal with. They're also going to have to decide if what you're offering, the product or service, exactly fits what they're looking for or is as close to it as they can get. And lastly, they're going to have to decide if the price is right. So during the process of helping people buy, you're going to have to cover all of these areas or work them into your conversation with those folks. So the first thing that you want to do is find out what's important to them. And you can do that by asking a very simple but very powerful question. You can say, Mr. or Mrs. potential customer, what's most important for you about the product or service that you have to offer? Now, some people in big ticket sales and that sort of thing are going to say, okay, tell me, what do you got? Give me your presentation. What's your best pitch? And you don't want to just start rambling at that point because you may be talking about a bunch of stuff that they really don't care about. So you can very politely say, listen, I've got a pitch all here ready for you, but I really don't want to waste your time unnecessarily by talking about things that you may not be interested in. So do you mind if I ask you a couple of quick questions first to make sure that I can tailor my presentation so that it meets your needs? So first of all, what's most important about this particular product that you're going to consider? Now, most people probably have never been asked that question, or very rarely, so you want to have something called what I call a prime the pump list ready for them, something that you can feed them things that they can say yes or no to. So let's, for example, say you're selling a copy machine. So you ask that question, what's most important for you about the copy machine that you'd like to buy or lease? And they just kind of stare at you. So you say, well, this particular copy can do color copies, 17 of them a minute. Would that be important to you? And they'll say yes or no. You can say, we can change the toner cartridge in this particular unit with just one finger. Is that important to you? You can do both side printing. You can scale the printing to 123% of normal or down to 10% of normal. Would that be important to you? So kind of go through 4 or 5 things like that about the particular product or service that you sell and find out what's important. If they say something that you think is very important isn't important to them, don't talk about it, regardless of how important you think it is. It's all about them in this process. It's not about you. So once they've nodded their heads 3 or 4 times saying, yeah, that's important to me, yeah, that's important to me, yes, that would be important to me, or, oh, you know, I never thought of that, but that might be important to me. Once you get through that, then you look at them and smile, and again, very politely say, now listen, it really doesn't have to be. But if there was one more thing that was important to you, what would it be? Now, get ready, because I've asked this question hundreds of times in the past, and many of that, half the time or more, people start talking. That just kind of jogs things loose, and they may go at you for 10 or 15 minutes and tell you exactly what they want to buy. So in that process, you're going to be gathering a whole lot of information that you can use in your presentation. And once you get all of that, the next thing you say is, is there anything that you'd like to know about our company? Do you have any concerns about that? Because they're going to be thinking it even if they don't say it. And if they don't, if they say, no, no, I'm okay with it, you should still pick two things that you consider are very important about your company and say, well, you know, if I were in your shoes, here's a couple of things that I would want to know, and then say those things. Listen, we've been in business for 42 years, and I know that length of time doesn't really make us necessarily a reliable company, but we've got the highest standards from this particular source and that particular source. But a couple of things that offer benefits to the company. And then when you're finished, ask a question. Is there anything else you'd like to know about our business? And they'll say yes or no and then move on. And then it's now time to decide whether or not your particular product or service is something that they want to buy. So you take all the things that they said were most important, and you go through and you talk to them about it. Now, you mentioned that you'd like to have 17 colored copies a minute. Now, you know, our machine can do that. It can do it very readily. By the way, what would you use these copies for? How do you see yourself using them most often if you had this machine in your possession? And you go through something like that, asking questions along the way to get their buy-in to say, well, I'd use it this way. If they can start telling you a story about how they're going to use the benefits of your particular product or service, you're in. So go through that as patiently as possible, and if something else comes up, keep an eye on their body language. If they look like they're a little uncomfortable, don't be afraid to say that. Well, you look a little uneasy with what I just told you. Do you have some questions that I missed, or am I not presenting this clearly enough for you? And get them out there. Get those things done, because when it comes time to ask that question about buying, you don't want them to bring something up that you should have taken care of beforehand. Okay, so now we've got them what's important to them about the product. They're trusting you. They know about the company. You're making your presentation about what's important to them. Now it's time to get into the price situation and kind of close the deal. And you know, I've been rambling long enough here, so I'm going to save that for the next video. But some of these things that I'm teaching you are just going to make people beg to buy from you. So we've gone through a number of good things here. I'll be putting another video up in a couple of days. You might want to subscribe to the channel, then you'll get an email every time a new video is put up. And I'm going to go through this whole process of how to turn prospects into customers and how to make existing customers into people that buy more often and spend more money. So I look forward to you at our next video. Thanks for watching this one.